Hi, I'm Jake, and today we're going to give you the hot takes on the new hotness, Leagues of Votann. I've got Mike with me here today to help guide me through. If you're new to the channel, what we do here is primarily cover competitive 40K content and host fun and informative battle reports, not like the one you're watching today. We haven't done a battle report in a while, you and I.
We have not.
We have to change that, yes. If that kind of content interests you, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the content that we put out. Being subscribed greatly helps the growth of the channel, and you get to stay up to date on all the cool vlogs and chapter tactics like the one that you're about to watch today. All right, Mike, Leagues of Votann.
Leagues of Votann.
I wasn't sure if I wanted to start a new army outside of the armies that I've started and am trying to get really, really good with, but it's just not happening. But this one has definitely caught my eye. So we've seen a lot of content being put out there. Shared.
Ahead of schedule,
yes.
Some may say.
Shared is a trigger word. You remember the Napster days and
Yep.
LimeWire.
Can't have peer-to-peer sharing now.
Shared.
But
they're looking pretty spicy, I must say. First off, the aesthetic. I was surprised.
A little bit, seeing as how GW had some issues with some Blizzard games in the past.
Yep.
Not to name any names, their sci-fi RTS game.
Right.
Took a lot of ideas from GW and their IP. And to me, at least, it looks like GW's kind of paying the favor back now with a lot of these looks on these new models.
I dig it.
Not gonna lie, they look pretty cool.
The Hearthguard. Yeah, the aesthetic alone, like the power armor, the exo armor, amazing. And you know me, I cannot get into an army myself personally. No judgment to any of the armies that I am not inclined to collect. But
every army. He has every army.
But I cannot get into an army because I love the painting process. I hate the building process, so it's irrelevant. But I just love the way things look on the shelves, and the exo armor really caught my eye on this one. I'm sure some of you guys can relate. I just cannot collect and play an army that I am not totally in love with. Like half chub is what I need.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Yeah. And then the whole Ninja Turtles thing, like
that image was perfect.
I'm gonna have to do it.
I would.
As a studio army,
I would fault you if you didn't.
Yeah, I think it's gonna need to happen. So you know, whether you take the studio army to an event or whether we go. It just needs to happen.
It needs to happen.
Right? Because I'm trying to get good with Harlequins. Genuinely. So
You're pretty spicy with Harlequins.
I'm a little spice. But maybe you take the Ninja Turtle, or wait, are we going to get in trouble with, they're my childhood heroes. If Ninja Turtle sues us, then I don't even know why I'm doing this anymore.
Then we've made it.
Yes. But Leagues of Votann, Mike, what are your thoughts so far? So we pretty much know everything.
More or less everything. Wink, wink. To me, there were a couple of standout leagues. The custom leagues didn't really tickle my fancy at all. Nothing really seemed to come together to make a cohesive game plan for an army. But for me, the leagues that stood out would be, number one, Ymir, Conglomerate.
Very standout, though.
Very standout.
But we'll get back to that.
The other standout league for me is going to be the Greater Therian League. Mainly because they have the only special character, and he seems pretty good for his cost. Yeah. Along with their league-specific stratagem.
There's definitely a couple good ones, like the Hyperion Alliance. I think it's the Thorian. I'm just checking my notes here, but the Thorian Alliance is the one that I believe you were talking about.
Yes.
Right. And they all do like really, really cool stuff. So for instance, the Therian League, so you basically get 2 traits with every single league. This is very in line with the new Codex releases where you get 1 to 2 benefits from everything. For Therian, you count as 2 models for OPSEC.
Yeah, for holding objectives, you count as extra models. If you have, I think it's 10 wounds, you count as 5.
And then you get the Salamander's rerolls, like 1 hit or 1 wound.
Right.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that comes in handy quite a bit. Like you see it with Tyranids, you see it with
Yeah.
Custodes, like it comes up quite a bit. And then with Hyperion, you get +1 to strength. No, +1 to hit.
If you're below starting strength, right?
Correct, if you're below starting strength. And then on unmodified wound roll of 6, you get an extra AP.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've talked about this big bad Armor of Contempt meta.
Mm-hmm.
Not that big bad and scary in my opinion so far.
No.
Outside of a certain armies, like one that you play.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Sisters. But outside of that, you know, they're Marines, be it Chaos, be it Imperial, they're just not in a great place right now.
Correct.
You know, barring certain builds.
That
Creations
mainly has
of
to do
Bile
with
and
the
Chaos
secondaries
Space.
and
Yeah, exactly.
scoring issues.
Yeah. So like, you know, in competitively speaking, like I just have not had major issues with Armor of Contempt armies.
Correct.
Yeah.
I can't say I've had it either.
Which sucks because I'm waiting for Death Guard to be amazing again. I can make it work. That was just a really salty comment. I don't even know why I said that. But Ymir, such a standout. So what this one does is for every unit in your army that already has a 2-up save, they get a 4-up invulnerable save.
Right. And then everything else gets a 5-up. Your whole army gets an invul now.
Yeah. That's
On top
pretty
of,
crazy.
Yeah, on top of the void armor buff that
Yeah.
the whole army gets,
Right.
it stacks up to be a pretty resilient force
Yeah.
you're putting on the table.
Yeah. And the codex definitely reads, or like as far as like the army rules reads, is there's like these little bits and pieces. There's a bite-sized strengths of the army overall, but it really comes together when you connect the dots on the void armor, on Ymir, on the data slates, the data sheets, and the way you can build with warlord traits, relics, so on and so forth. It just really comes together, and then it's like, holy crap,
Yeah.
this unit's really durable.
We haven't even talked about the judgment token mechanic.
Yeah, we're not even at that level yet, but Ymir I think is going to be kind of the auto take
I think
in
that
the competitive scene.
Ymir is definitely going to be the go-to if it's not the greater Therian League.
Yeah, the +1 toughness is okay. That's Urani Surtur.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get +1 strength or toughness. We were joking about this the other day about the land fortresses.
Mm-hmm.
If I would rather have a 2-up, 4-up, or a toughness 9 chassis.
Yeah.
It was an obvious joke, which I didn't get at the time, but that's okay. So I said, "Wait, does the math work out better?"
No.
No,
No, it doesn't.
it really doesn't. Especially with the things that can kill you at this point. Yeah, tell us about judgment tokens, Mike. Like this is really interesting. This is very, very new to the world of 40K.
So from what we've been shared, judgment tokens work by enemy unit completing an action. At the end of the enemy turn, you're allowed to apply 1 judgment token to any unit in the enemy army. And then the calls, the main HQ, the captains or chapter masters, if you want to use that equivalent, in your command phase are able to put out judgment tokens on units they're able to see. There are a few other abilities throughout the army, whether it's warlord traits, stuff like that allows you to apply additional judgment tokens.
Yeah, like the high call one.
Yes.
That's pretty insane. So at the start of each command phase, you pick 2 units, and you don't have to have a range. It's just
Be able to see them.
2 units visible, judgment token, judgment token.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking of, like, we should probably explain if you don't already know, but as far as judgment tokens go, so if an enemy unit, so if your opponent has 1 judgment token on it, 6 is auto wound.
6
is
is auto
hit.
wound.
Yeah. 2 judgment tokens, 5 is auto wound.
5's auto wound, yeah.
3 judgment tokens, which is not difficult to get.
It really
Yeah.
isn't. There's enough ways to build up judgment tokens. You can get 3 judgment tokens first turn.
Yeah, easily.
Easily.
3 judgment tokens, 4s to hit, auto wound.
I think there's another caveat in there. Fours hit. Regardless of any modifiers, fours hit.
Yes.
And they auto wound.
Yes.
And with that, guys, there is a caveat with that. These auto wounds count as 6s to wound.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of abilities in this army that proc off of 6s to wound. And those judgment tokens make it really easy to get those off.
Yes. So what judgment tokens will really shine in are matchups like knights.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Leviathan Tyranids, as we were talking about. Okay, so you're transhuman, you have the 5-up invul. Cool. I just need to hit you on 4s.
Exactly.
Yeah. And in an army built with Chapter Master rerolls, which are just full rerolls to hit, you mentioned that the Berserks, they have access to a 1 CP stratagem where they reroll all their hits.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of attacks. That's pretty scary when you're running an army reliant on your opponent not wounding you that easily.
Correct.
Right? So you only have to roll to hit, and you're probably going to re-roll all your hits.
Probably. That also, with the 3 judgment tokens, will affect armies that rely on you not hitting.
Yeah.
The stacking -1s, the dense cover. Mm-hmm. You just don't care.
Yeah. Dense cover is a good point too, because there's all these different like mechanics, like scanner, like the scanner upgrades, where Votann can essentially ignore dense cover benefits. They can ignore light cover. You can kind of build them however you need.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that you mentioned scanners, something that really stood out to me was having that scanner keyword allows you access to the Aspect scan stratagem.
Oh, nice.
So you have all these units in your army with these scanners ignoring cover. Well, now you're also, zoning out deep strikes because they have to be aware of that.
Yeah.
The units that are going to have these scanners,
right,
they're going to have the shots to really hurt something coming in.
Yep. And mind you, we did not mention it, but what Void Armor is Armor of Contempt, but basically better because you don't get to reroll wounds against them.
Correct.
Yeah.
On top of that, unlike Armor of Contempt, you can stack the ignoring AP benefits.
Yep.
There are several ways to do that. And the other caveat to that is it's not Armor of Contempt. Armor of Contempt exists in the balanced data slate. If that were ever to be changed,
right,
this army is unaffected.
built in. Yeah, it's caked into the codex. But on top of that, they get steady advance. So certain units basically are Death Guard, but better, where they don't suffer any penalties to their movement.
Well, that helps when you only have movement 4.
Yeah. Like Poxwalkers, right?
Yeah.
Which they don't. They don't get it. but that is pretty cool too. A lot of the units are movement 5 or better.
4 to 5.
Yeah.
The vehicles are higher.
Yeah. So, I mean, they're okay, but that just goes to show that, at least my personal feelings are, this is about to be a very strong mid-board army.
Yes. This army wants to be in the mid-board.
Yeah.
And it wants to dominate that mid-board.
Yeah. And then interestingly, as we were all oppressed by the Tau era, are the Magna rail weapons.
Yes. Tau holds a very special place in my heart.
I know it does.
You still have nightmares about those tiger sharks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Still love them.
So Magna rail weapons, invul saves cannot be made.
Correct.
And damage spills over on unmodified wound rolls of 6s.
Correct. So, if you have 3 judgment tokens and you get with a 4, that 2d3 plus 6 rail rifle is going to spill all of its damage to your unit.
Because it's an auto 6. As written, it's an auto 6 for all rules purposes.
Yep.
Yeah. Pretty scary stuff.
So that anti-tank rifle could very easily pick up a whole squad of Harlequins, easily a whole squad of Guardsmen.
Yes, it can.
Whole squad of anything, really. So what other unique weapons do the Leagues of Votann have that other armies don't have access to?
Well, okay, so now they have the hunter weapons too.
Correct.
I'm not entirely sure as to why it was identified that way. I think it's just GW is actually a good way of giving them, their own weapons profiles. Why doesn't it make sense to me? It's because it's not like rapid fire where there's more special rules.
Right.
So hunter weapons is just, if it says hunter 3, it's 3 shots. If it's hunter 6, it's 6 shots.
I think
Cool.
to me,
Unless I missed a stratagem.
No.
Okay.
No. To me, it seems like GW put that weapon designation as a control. If you were to give these guns rapid fire, these guns are honestly pretty scary. If they were getting additional shots, they'd be even that more scary, honestly. Or if you gave them assault, now I can start running my guys up the board. Movement's not as big of an issue.
True.
So by giving them an outside designation that is specific to them, it allows them the use of the weapon while still controlling the aspects that they built into the army for them. The lower movements.
Did you catch how hunter weapons operate then? So they're not heavies.
They're not heavies. They're not assault. They're not rapid fire.
Right? So can you...
So you can move and fire them with no penalty.
Uh-huh.
You couldn't advance and fire them because that is specifically...
To assault.
To assault. Yeah. I think they built that in to really control the movement of the models. So if you have a 20-man blob of the warriors with Hunter 1 weapons, being able to advance them up and shoot would be kind of scary if you're ignoring those modifiers and just hitting and wounding on 4s.
Yeah.
Or even having them rapid fire.
That makes sense.
Nothing would be able to get close to you.
Yeah. Let's talk about beam weapons. Let's talk about beam weapons.
So everybody knows about the lantern and those types of relic weapons that exist sporadically through a number of codexes. They've never really been taken or used because, it's one shot.
Yep.
You might get 1 or 2 additional hits. It's not that interesting. But now that it's just a designation in this army, and many, many units have access to them, and you could fire them in volume.
Yep.
Now they're interesting. So let's take the Land Fortress, for example. You can have 4 beam weapons on it.
Yeah.
Well, you can technically have 5. The conversion beamer is a beam weapon. But say you just take the 4 ion beams. 2 shots apiece. So that's 8 shots. If you hit all 8, now everything in that line is taking 8 hits.
And the range is relatively low, which is at 18 inches for the...
I believe so, yes.
But then, going back to Ymir,
the
plus 4 inches, so, 22 is not bad for something that can just shoot something in a straight line. So how beam weapons work, like Mike said, like Morty's lantern, is you measure the closest point. So basically, here's a diagram. The closest point of your base, or your model, to the closest point of the enemy target. Everything in between, if you land a hit, you just roll a wound roll for everything that's an eligible target.
That is very important to know.
Very key point though. So like if you beam shoot something that's not eligible, i.e. behind an obscuring ruin, for instance, you do not hit that.
A character taking advantage of Lookout
Sir, right. That's what the beam mechanic does. I think it's really cool. There are definitely some... I wanted to exploit like a beam spam.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that's the way to go though.
I like it.
Yeah?
Positioning is going to be very key.
Yeah.
For the Leagues player. You need to make sure that you're measuring and putting the closest point where you need it to be for that line. But being able to fire these weapons in volume now, they're going to be useful. They're going to be scary.
Yeah. Well, especially, okay, so this was confusing. You brought this up. You're gonna have to explain your stance on potentially what the next FAQ will have to.
So something that caught my eye, and maybe it wasn't explained well enough in the sharing of information, or it's something that GW is going to have to address in the post-codex FAQ. If a target unit has the 3 judgment tokens on it, or any judgment tokens, and you proc the auto wound portion of that, does that then apply to every unit that crosses that beam line?
We tried to look into it. There's really nothing stopping it right now. My guess is going to be it all auto wounds. That's going to be my guess.
We'll just have to wait and see what GW says.
Yeah.
So just something to keep eyes out for.
Yeah. But, you know, it is questionable too because of how many sentences have referred to for all rules purposes. It's an auto 6.
Correct.
Right? But for some reason, like this one seems to be excluded.
I could see it going either way.
Yeah.
I would just like some clarification on which way they're intending it to go.
And if you have opinions on this, like, let's discuss it. Like,
yeah, please let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's no telling until it becomes an issue, really. But I do agree that it's going to become an issue.
8 beams hitting and auto wounding, just everything in the line seems like it might be an issue.
A little bit.
Because what they're AP2 damage to?
You can cover, yeah, and you can cover a lot of ground with 22 inches.
You can. You definitely can.
So, I don't know. We'll see where that goes. But as far as standout units go, man, I love the Land Fortress.
Love the Land Fortress.
I was trying to theory craft a list with 3 Land Fortresses.
Okay. Seems a little excessive, but okay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Director Leo mentioned that.
Yeah.
I think in the nicest way possible. He said, no. It's too much. But it is, because you're going to want to squeeze a lot. You know, as far as like what we know of the points, nothing super cheap.
No, it's definitely going to be a more elite army.
Yeah,
it's definitely not a horde by any means.
Right.
And you definitely need to think about where you're spending your points in this.
The quality is there.
Absolutely.
Right. Like even Berserks, for instance, they're at a 4-up save.
No.
3-up save.
No.
5-up save?
6-up save.
Oh, they're at a 6-up save.
6-up save.
Oh.
But they are toughness 5.
What am I thinking about? Okay, I must be thinking about something else. So Berserk's at a 6-up save, but if you go Ymir, they have a 5-up invul.
Correct.
It's okay. Toughness 5, 2 wounds. So the quality's there, and I would say they're reasonably priced for sure for what they can do.
Absolutely.
You know, 3 attacks. Strength 10 if you give them
the hammers.
The hammers.
Give them the hammers.
3 damage each. Not too shabby.
Not at all.
And they're core, so you'd be able to Chapter Master reroll.
Correct.
Roll all hits, and as we mentioned earlier, 1 CP to just reroll all hits. So things like that. Not bad.
No, not at all.
Okay. And then you've got like Pioneers, which are the bikes. Also not bad. You've got Hearthguard. Probably the most points costly unit for what they do.
I'd say points inefficient unit.
Points inefficient. Fair enough. I really wanted to love them.
Yes, I did as well.
Yes, my favorite looking models in the entire Vulcan range, but it's fine. I just think they're way too expensive for what they do.
Correct.
The 2-up, 4-up, that'll be nice, but that only takes you so far. They just don't do much. And if you want them to do more, you have to pay more.
Well, they still only have the 2 attacks, 2 wounds.
Yeah, 2. Like, if it was 3 attacks, if it was 3 wounds.
Either one, and I think their cost is justified.
Right. But, you know, everything else seems like pointed very, very fairly, which probably adds to the efficiency of some of these builds that we're likely going to see. I see a lot of Berserks gonna pop up, which is unfortunate too. They're my least favorite looking models.
Yeah, they're not great looking. I was kind of hoping that I don't know if you've seen the Slayer models from AOS or the old Fantasy with the red hair and the big beards. I was hoping they would incorporate that.
They're just trying to be like ogre equivalent sexy Repentia.
It's exactly what they are. They're ogreing with hot pants.
It's just not a good look.
So are there any matchups that you feel that leagues would be favorable into?
Matchups, yeah. I think it's going to give a lot of armies a difficult time.
Okay.
But nothing overwhelming in my opinion.
Okay. For leagues or leagues into them?
4 leagues into them.
Okay.
Yeah. So, slower armies, I feel, are going to have trouble going into leagues.
I would agree with that.
Fast armies, Harlequins,
Harlequins, yes.
maybe even Tyranids,
Okay.
because they do have the movement.
They do.
Right.
Absolutely.
Uh,
Would you throw sisters in there?
I don't know. That's more your take.
Okay.
Like that is a hard one to determine.
I think sisters would give Bloody Rose sisters, mind you, give leagues a run for their money because they're going to be cheaper. They're going to trade up, and they're going to be able to get to that mid board very, very quickly.
Yeah, and they have a lot of trade pieces.
They do have a lot of trade pieces.
Orcs is they have a lot of target saturation.
Yep.
So I think that more comes down to pilot, as we were talking about earlier. And it's going to be the same thing, like majority of the time. It comes down to pilot. But Votann being able to just park mid, but I think there are a lot of armies that can just say, okay, I will come at you.
Right.
Right? Their durability is good, but they're less than invincible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I think the Turtle Mobile is going to be one of the biggest saving graces in Ymir builds.
Yes.
To knock out, what is it, 18 wounds?
16.
16 wounds. So it's like almost a storm surge.
Almost.
Right? 2 up, 4 up. Void armor. No rerolls to wound.
Mm-hmm.
-1 AP, or ignore -1 AP.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be tough to chew through. So basically, like for the armies that really can't do like absurd amounts of damage or like reliable damage or volume of attacks. Like for instance, I think like Admech could actually do well into them too, because they also have threat saturation and they have just a million bullets.
They do.
Right? So already like saying that out loud and like trying to theory craft that, I don't know. I think they're really good. Like Votann's really good, but I think they fit really nicely, not like overpowered in today's meta.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think they're going to fit very nicely. I do see a lot of the top meta armies being a challenging game for them.
Mm-hmm.
By no means is it going to be heavily favored on either side, but it'll be a good match. So I would definitely put them in the mid to high A tier.
So interestingly enough, like Knights is an obvious. I think Knights are actually going to lose quite a bit into Votann.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Because, the thing with Knights, be it Chaos or Imperium, if an army can kill Knights, they have a very good chance of winning that match.
Well, I think the other thing that goes along with that is it's a lower model count army, so you can really focus where you're putting those judgment tokens.
Exactly, and while you're scoring, because there's like a clear secondary of, based around judgment tokens, so you're just scoring while you're killing.
Correct.
Pretty reliably too, I must say.
And with the prevalence of player place terrain, if they're running a lot of the big boys, being able to correctly place that terrain so your guns can hide but still be able to shoot them, will put the Knights player at a huge disadvantage.
Yeah. See, even like, I'm thinking Necrons. Like, Necrons probably give Votann a hard time too.
Potentially. So I don't think there's any one unit that can pick up a 20 warrior blob in one go. And if you don't pick them up, then they're all over the board. Yeah, just not having enough bullets as squads. Right. But it's like the similar circumstance with Sisters, where Necrons and Sisters right now are in a fantastic place when it comes to secondaries. Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Votanns, not so much.
Yeah, they have one standout secondary, in my opinion, the one that's focused around the killing units with judgment tokens, and then 2 situational ones. If you're playing on a 6 objective map, the one where you do actions on objectives can be good. The caveat with that is they have to be outside of your deployment zone. Yeah. And they're slower, so. Slower. Yeah. The Pioneers help. Yep. Pioneers help. Yep. And then the other situational one will be I think it's Grudge Match. where you have to pick 5 units, and depending upon the point cost of the units,
Oh, yeah.
you get more points,
Yeah.
and you have to kill those units, basically.
Right. It's a lot of bookkeeping. But it's okay.
It is a lot of bookkeeping.
Yeah.
Got to bookkeep with the judgment tokens anyway.
I judge you.
That's
You're
a lot.
judged.
That's a
You're
lot of
judged.
tokens to have.
Yeah, it is. An army like Custodes, under normal circumstances, I would say, is favored into an army like Votann. But based on the rules that they have, I don't think that's going to be an easy matchup.
I think it is going to heavily favor Votann, honestly.
Heavily.
Heavily. Custodes are already a lower model count army. Very elite.
Okay, so like same thing like Knights.
Same thing like Knights.
Okay.
You're going to focus your judgment tokens.
Okay.
But they're all reliant upon that invul
And toughness.
and toughness.
Yeah.
The big guns in Votann don't care about your invul. They're going to splash the damage over. And the toughness isn't an issue for them.
Yeah. That makes sense.
So let's say you've got a 3-man unit of custodian guard, the basic guys. Was that like 200 points? Take 1 shot from that rail rifle. It's 6 damage plus 2d3.
Yeah, like who cares if you have shields?
Yeah.
1 up, 4 up. No invul. Thank you.
Yeah. If you fail your 5-up save, that's the unit gone
Yeah. Yeah.
on 1 gun.
That's scary. Yeah, it's like it is -4, right?
It's -4, yeah.
On the Magna rails. And Custodes don't get, yeah. I mean, not that like Custodes are the bullies by any measure, but like, you know, they're still a very, very strong army. I think they're absolutely going to demolish armies that are slower. I just keep going back to that. Like, I would be pretty scared to fight them with Death Guard.
Yeah, they're going to demolish armies that are slower. They're going to demolish armies that focus almost exclusively on the defensive.
Yeah.
Because they just don't care.
Right.
Like your 1,000 Suns with their souped up Terminator brick. Yeah, you're -1 to hit. You got your 4-up invul. You've got all this nonsense, but you've got 3 judgment tokens on you. I hit on 4s regardless. The rail rifles don't care about your invul. And if I get that 4 or that 6 to wound, I'm picking up 2, 3, 4 guys per shot.
Yeah. I think my Grey Knights could actually give them a good run for their money. They have the mobility and they just crap out mortal wounds.
Yeah.
It's a way to bypass, you know,
Absolutely.
Ymir or whatever, but man, I think this is going to be really fun. I think this is going to be really fun with Space Wars entering the meta.
Yes. It's about time they came back.
Yeah. Mike, tell us what kind of list you're thinking. Like, what do you think that you're going to play, and what do you think we're going to see on the tabletop?
The list that I have floating around in my mind right now is going to be Ymir. So I'm going to be leveraging that 4-up, 5-up invul, the 4-inch range. I'm going to have a high call, and he's going to take the high call specific warlord trait that lets him use his, you get a judgment token, you get a judgment token twice. I'm going to take another call, because having a high call lets me take another call and not break the detachment rules.
Right.
So that's 3 judgment tokens I'm putting out per command phase. So that'll be my HQs. I'm going to have 2 20-man blobs of the basic bitch boy warriors. With those, I feel like the ion blaster is the way to go.
Oh, yeah?
So it's less shots than the bolt rifle, but it's higher strength. It's got AP. It's better damage.
Okay. More reliable is what you're thinking.
More quality. More quality.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm going to have 2 10-man bricks of ogres in hot pants. But I'm going to give them the hammers. I'm all about the hammers. Yeah, it's -1 to hit, but they'll be hitting on 4s. It's 30
Most likely re-rolling all of them.
Most
anyway.
likely re-rolling. It's 30 attacks for the unit.
Yeah.
Strength 10, neg 3, flat 3. It's pretty spicy.
Yeah.
2 6-man units of pioneers. Nice, fast pre-game move. OBSEC.
Yeah.
With the invul, it gives them a little more staying power, so they can be out there claiming objectives, being an annoyance. And then absolutely have to have 2 of the land fortresses.
Yeah.
With 4 ion beams apiece and the Big Daddy railgun.
Oh, okay. You're going to go full ion beams.
Full ion beams. And that comes out to 2,000 points.
It's like you've done your homework.
Almost. With that, I should note on the calls, they come stock with a crest that gives them an aura of 5-up invul. But by being Ymir, I don't need that.
Right.
So I'm going to take the other option, which is a teleport crest, which allows them to set up in deep strike.
Yep.
Or there's a strat that you can use for each teleport unit once per game. It's basically the Grey Knight's teleport shot.
Nice.
So if I need them somewhere else on the table,
Yeah.
they're there.
It's okay, so that will help their mobility.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I did not know that, so
2,000 points on the dot.
I don't know what I'm going to run yet.
Ninja Turtles.
Well, yeah, I know. I guess I know how I'm going to collect the army. I just don't know what kind of list I'm going to run yet. It seems very experimental. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yes, brand new army.
Yeah.
A lot of mechanics we haven't seen before. It's going to be a good period of experimentation until we start seeing results and what's working for people.
I think so. As much as I'm not like sold on pioneers right now, I think they're going to be an auto take, at least like a unit of 3.
Yeah.
Because there are, the mission where you have to be on like a mid objective to get CP, for instance.
Absolutely.
I think it is going to be very crucial. Plus being like a relatively cheap way of having, getting 12-inch moves. A throwaway unit, if you will.
Absolutely.
But even like having, 3 fast attacks, I don't know. I just, the Sagittar is what edged it over points by points. I really like the Sagittar better.
That makes sense to me.
So like, can they do what they do? No. Because they're different units. Having a pregame move, having that 12-inch movement, not being a transport. For the Pioneers, there's a lot of arguments that can be made as to why they are auto takes. But the Sagittar, I thought it was really cool, like basically combat squatting. If because you can take a unit of 2 transports, so 1, 2, being able to combat squad like pregame.
Oh, absolutely.
That's interesting.
It is.
Flexible.
So, to give you my thoughts on the Pioneers and why I was going to take 2 units of 6, specifically for a couple of missions. Obviously, they're fast, they're obsec, they're going to take and hold some objectives for me, but the Recover the Relics, I believe it is, get out there early, get your CP.
Yep.
That's huge in that game. What's the other mission with the 4 down the line in the middle? Is it Vital Intelligence?
Intelligence. Oh, I hate saying that map up every time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you've got those 2 units and you go first,
and they're sticky too.
Yeah, they're sticky. Exactly.
So you hold it, and then
you pregame move your obsec. You hold it.
Yeah.
Now you could just say, okay, I'm coming back to my deployment. Deal with me holding all 4 of those.
Yeah.
And you have nothing to leapfrog and charge into.
Yeah. That's very smart. So like, just those 2 missions alone, those are very difficult missions.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Especially for a slow army. That's an amazing point actually. With Vital Intelligence, froggering basically across the board because you're probably not going to get across to the other side.
Yeah.
By until like turn 4 or so. Smart.
Believe it or not, I do think about what I do sometimes.
I don't most of the time. I'm more of a gut feel impulse.
It works.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, so I think that's where we're at with it. Out of the armies that I've been playing this year, I am not highly favored with any of them into a Votann matchup. I am more confident with 2 of my armies, that being Harlequins and Grey Knights. But for my other 3 armies, I'm pretty sure I'm on the back foot.
I think you are.
That being Custodes.
Back foot.
Chaos Knights.
Back foot.
And Death Guard. Because
no
plague weapons. Rerolling wounds.
Well, it's not going to be an issue if you never get there.
Yeah. That's big sad on the Death Guard part. It's okay. But that's pretty balanced, I would say. Like, I don't collect all that are, Ultramarines too, but those don't count because I'll get back to that.
I see some Craft World over there.
Yeah, that too. Doesn't count. I haven't been playing them. Okay, I haven't been playing them. But no, I think that's in a really, really good place because, for instance, when the Tyrannus book came out, it was just very clear that you were just going to die to it. Like all the armies you collected, the Tau Codex came out, it was like, shit.
Yes.
We can't hide.
I think GW has found their stride with releasing books that aren't abusively overpowered,
Yeah.
but aren't so underwhelming that no one wants to play it.
I think this one's going to be definitely rated higher than Chaos Space Marines. I think Chaos Space Marines was like one of the first books that came out in 9th that really said, wow, this is nicely balanced. Like, this is just kind of fair. I think an argument made about the Knights Codexes, specifically Chaos Knights, I thought it was just fair. Nothing was overly broken.
I think you can make that argument for Sisters too, prior to the Secondaries update.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is true. I don't know. I feel really good about this army entering in. I would put them tier rating wise. I'm going to put them at a B+ on paper.
B+? I'm going to put them mid-A.
Mid-A?
Mid-A. I think they have what it takes to compete with the top meta armies right now. But the B and C tier armies, I think they've got very favorable matchups into.
I put them into B+. It's not all about the movement. I'm just not seeing... Hopefully my mind has changed. I'm not seeing the volume of damage output to keep up with some of the big meta bullies right now. That's the only thing that right now I'm not seeing.
Okay. I can see your argument.
Like you can outposition beam weapons, you know, because it comes down to pilot.
It is going to come down to pilot.
I think you can outposition, you can outrun.
It's definitely going to come down to reps. People need to see when these things are lined up what they're going to do.
Yeah.
Because until you see that and that's in your game plan that you need to position in this way, they're going to hit 2-3 units each time.
Yeah. Oh, and the secondaries. I don't love the secondaries.
No, secondaries aren't anything spectacular.
And 9th edition more than ever is about scoring your secondaries.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So what do you think they're middle of the road A? What am I not seeing here?
Like I said before, the B and C tier armies, I feel like they've got a very favorable matchup into. There are some A armies that I see being challenging for them. They're not going to have the greatest matchups into, but it's not unwinnable.
Right.
The biggest hang-up for me really is the secondary scoring.
Yeah. That one's a difficult pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Will they score primary as well? I think so.
Yeah, they've got the OBSEC units. They've got the presence and resilience to hold the mid-board. So I think primary is not going to be a huge issue for them. Assuming they don't get paired into some crazy fast Harlequin bike army that just pens them into their deployment zone turn 1. That's going to be an issue.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Let us know what you guys think. This is all theory craft at this point.
We would love to hear from you, your thoughts, concerns with the army.
If you want me to do the Ninja Turtles scheme, I absolutely will. Let me know so Mike can pilot them first, because he's the engineer.
We're going to do our best, guys, to get the army up and going for the channel as quickly as possible.
Yep.
Might be able to get the first bat rep out.
I don't know about the first.
We're shooting for the first.
We're going to shoot for the first. But no, it was good. Like I said, overall, I feel really, really good about this army coming in. And I am excited to play them too. I think Mike's going to play them better than I can, but we're going to find out.
To be continued, guys.
Yes. All right. We're definitely, I don't know if we're going to do a full Army Codex review or if we're going to try to shoot and accomplish that goal of first bat rep on the channel. Fully painted. 3-color minimum, maybe. But we're going to get it going. We're going to try. Would love to hear your thoughts on this. But I do think, if anything, whether they are B+ or A tier armies, they are going to shake up the current meta.
They are, absolutely.
A lot. It doesn't matter where they actually land on that. There are fundamental rules in this codex that are going to be things to fear. So that's it for today, folks. If you liked this video, please join in on the discussion. This is one of those where we really want to hear what everybody's saying.
Absolutely.
Because I'm hearing a lot of Voltann's overpowered. I'm not seeing that personally. I don't think you're seeing that. Like,
I don't think they're overpowered.
Yeah,
no.
they're far from broken in my opinion.
They're strong.
Yes, very, very strong. So let us know. Let's get in on that discussion, and we'll catch you guys next time. Peace.
Yeah.